Believe it or not, yes.
Okay, fair enough.
We are ready, yep.
Yeah.
It looks like we'll get this will be an on-time start by the looks of it, actually.
Yeah, everyone has been readied up for a couple of minutes, actually. We are rearing to go.
Yeah. And here it is.
So I have an interesting question from my chat about, can we imagine a good use of legendary Haruguma in KOTS? Now remember that chat and our speech are 5 minutes delayed, and I'd love to answer that question right now, but I'm going to introduce the teams instead. The match has begun, and then maybe we can talk about the Harugumo afterward.
So I'll let you take it with V888.
So we have V888 on the green team. They've brought Ohio, Colombo, Des Moines, Venezia, double Stalingrad, and then a 3-destroyer composition, double Ragnar and a Marceau. We've seen Ragnars before, but not double Ragnar. This is a very all-in play on gunboats.
Yeah. And on the RIKKO side, the RIKKO Czech side, we have Ohio, Kremlin, double Venezia, double Stalingrad, triple DD in the form of Girin, Darien, and Marceau, which is much more traditional in terms of a DD composition. The Colombo interests me. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna lie.
this is kind of something we've talked about, and we've been reviewing the viability of Colombo in a competitive match. What do you think are the pros and cons of Colombo, Jarek?
This ability to essentially smoke charge or smoke disengage at the most vital of moments, and it has a large shell weight in each volley, and sap can be absolutely devastating against every single target there is. So, it has all the potentially ticky boxes. It has quite a trolley armor scheme, I believe, as well. Its health pool is a little on the low side for a tier 10, but if you get it into a position where you can just slap something with that 16 gun sap volley, do you care that you've got like 10,000 health less because you've just taken 20 of that person?
Right. It's a very interesting thing. Some people will swear by it, and then other people will say it doesn't have Yamato overmatch. It has shell density, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
have the same. I mean, that said, it's reasonably mobile, and its mobility is enhanced with a smoke. The armor is trollish, but it's trollish both ways. Um, I'll be interested to see how the Colombo fares. This is the first time we've cast
Yeah.
a match with Colombo in it.
Yeah. And the Marceau diving straight into C cap to get the guaranteed cap, or that's the plan. Ragnar at B, Ragnar at A, the Marceau in A cap diving behind the island as well to try and guarantee that cap. Looks like the Gearing is going to give up B. And maybe that's a decision, that's a conscious decision on the part of, they've seen how quickly C caps have been taken. They know the Marceau is there. So the other caps have Ragnars. Let's not put their Gearing up against the Ragnar on its own because that is a death sentence.
Right. The notion here is that if you're going to engage a Ragnar, it's going to be a 2v1.
Yeah, and hopefully with a Marceau that has enough DPM to mean something, because the Ragnar does get a heal. So one cap each team. B is being taken by that Ragnar, and I can't imagine it'll ever be stopped.
Venezia
So
is
that will be an
spotted,
early hand for
but
V888.
is a Venezia after all.
Indeed, yeah. Darien is going to try and area deny a Marceau? Question mark. Single fire torps in an interesting position, but Marceau doesn't really come under threat from that. But they are now contesting C cap.
Mm-hmm.
So one cap ticking for each team.
And there's nothing really to push out that daring anytime soon. The daring can just kind of exist for a fair amount of
Yeah.
time there while the Stalingrad Venezia decide where they want to position themselves behind.
So notice both Stalingrads from V888 are in a kiting position, whereas the Stalingrads from RIKKO are in pushing positions.
Yeah, so that's a
Or by rim,
Venezia.
I should say.
Is the Venezia going to smoke the Stalingrad in? No, we're leaving the Stalingrad behind. So
Yeah.
OPJOCO, I'm sorry, Objoko? I'm sorry. Objoko has found his island. He has found his friend. And Venezia is going to push up and put some more pressure next to the daring.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see these little.
Marceau
He's
is
lost
spotted.
12k or so.
So we have the
The push on A, they're going to try and the Des Moines going to take A. There's no question about that, or it's going to at least permanently contest it. And this puts RIKKO on the back foot entirely. They don't have once that Des Moines is in A cap, they have no points ticking, whereas V888 have at least a cap ticking, 2 now because the theory's been pushed out, and maybe even up to 3 if the Des Moines can successfully cap A. A bit of health trade going on. You can see the very, very slight health advantage is also in the hands of V888. So they're setting up here, and this is this thing is they're setting up strong to force mistakes.
So how much of
And I
this
think
do you suppose
we're going to
comes
consistently
down
see
to the
this.
fact that just having Ragnars on the field gives them kind of a little bit of an initial bubble for each of those caps?
Yeah, I feel like RIKKO are scared to engage a Ragnar, especially now that their Marcel's on 5k.
Yeah.
That's a bit devastating.
That
And
being
it's
said, Ragnar just took a hit. Which Ragnar was it that took a
yeah,
hit?
that was the one in B. The Ohio managed to claim a hit on it, but the Marceau is trading for that as well.
Yeah.
Down to 1600, and that Marceau pushes around that corner, it dies because the Ragnar will see it.
But at this point,
There is no question.
He wants to push around that corner. Like Marceau is dead anyway. So can you get one last hit on the Ragnar? It's not going to be worth very much, unfortunately.
He gets a few hits in.
Yeah. Marceau.
That there is the saturation mechanic unique to
Hmm.
French destroyers. The Marceau losing out in that trade.
Gearing wants to
Sorry,
finish it up. I don't think the Gearing can actually force a spot here.
no, but if he can, he does. Oh, maybe
he
he
does.
can. Yes,
He
he does.
forces
He
a
does. He
spot.
does. Yeah, the Ragnar I thought was going to just run away. Girian has to take the shots. It has to engage
The
that.
whole point of
You
this is
need
that
that
it
kill.
has to be a trade, but this is going to be a painful trade.
There we go. Good hits in from the Venezia, and the Girian finishes it. That's very good. That's very well.
Yeah. Gearing is
Taken,
now
essentially.
lost 25% of his health pool. It could have been better, but at least the trade was achieved.
Yeah, and it could have been much worse if the Venezia hadn't spoken up there.
Yeah.
The Ragnar, very scary to come across. And I think it looks like the game's going to calm down a little bit with B cap trading. And we're going to be back to a cap taking for each team.
Right.
Should we quickly discuss the Haragumo idea?
So go ahead and talk about the Harugumo idea. So the question in chat was, can you imagine a good use of a legendary Harugumo mod? A legendary Harugumo in KOTS. Now notice, Jed has already said legendary Harugumo, so he's already talking about the smoke variety. What do you think about that, Jark?
So, in my opinion, legendary Haragumo is the only Haragumo you would bring to KOTS. And what I said at the start of that last battle, where I said I see a Des Moines and Salem going with a Haragumo to smoke push, is exactly what I see doing. You have this insanely big smoke screen, and the Haragumo just bimbles along at the front lane as smoke, and he has 2 high DPM cruisers following it up, and they spot something in front, something spots the Haragumo, it goes, I'm spotted. Des Moines presses radar, they kill the thing, the DD that's spotting the Haragumo, and that's how it's a very practiced, very niche maneuver to do, but it is very viable. And in the background, Obioko in his Stalingrad is taking a lot of damage.
A lot of damage. The advantage of sap there. Now the question is, how much of that sap damage can he repair? My guess is a lot of it, but I mean, he's down to what, 25% health? He can't poke out and take pot shots at things at this point, and he really doesn't want to be spotted in the near future either.
Yeah. Importantly, though, RIKKO I've said that they were put into a position where they need to do something to change the match state, and that's V888 trying to force a mistake from them. RIKKO have responded remarkably well. I'm very impressed. They've paused both of the V888 caps, and they've got one cap ticking of their own without any response from V888, which means they are trying to narrow that points lead.
What's interesting to me is the spotting mismatch here. So RIKKO has managed to spot a wide variety. You can see with these bright orange exclamation points, wide variety of V888 ships. Meanwhile, very few, until recently, relatively few of their own ships were spotted. So that gives them a lot more options on where they want to choose to focus fire. Generally, you have cases where only a couple of ships are spotted and people can only shoot at what they can see. But in addition to pausing a couple of caps and having basically a roaming gearing, this gearing is, lost 25% of his health, but he's just roaming now.
Venezia, Spirit Maker, I don't know why he's pushing into A cap, but he's pushed into A cap and he's lost most of his health. The Ohio is now fired as well.
Yeah.
And he's dead. Des Moines just needs to radar and that's it. But the Stalingrad shots are in the air and that's... I don't understand that push. The Venezia is maybe not the ship to make that push,
Ohio
and
and
that
Venezia
is why.
both hit W at the same time, but what was their objective there? They were already pausing A. It's not like they're going to dislodge the Des Moines, which is the one contesting them. What's the reason that you push an Ohio and a Venezia to both push W at that point? Can you think of one?
Yeah, you want to force your way through A, and that's valid. And this mistake that I'm trying to do. V888 are still in a strong position. They're still in the lead, uh, and that's that may be a mistake. Maybe it was part of the plan. But the Ragnar here has the gearing detected. That gearing is in threat,
Yeah,
and
you'll
he's got to
see
take that fight.
that same kind of pushing idea is happening at sea. You got a Kremlin pushing close, but the Kremlin is bleeding health slowly, not catastrophically. That gearing is not in a good way.
No, and is not undetected yet. And the Des Moines is now speaking up. Undetected now, but the Des Moines shots are
It's
already out there.
too late.
He
A
survives
couple of
for
blind
now.
fires can still do the job.
Yeah, exactly. Des Moines, retreats back. He does one more blind fire, retreats back to safety. I think they're overcommitting here now. I think they did initially very well in pausing these caps and letting the points tick in their favor again. But I feel like this has been an overcommitment to that cause, because that Ohio doesn't achieve anything in that position.
So Opyoko is now
Uh,
leaving his island. He's regained his health back to half. Um, they have a decent amount of space behind C that Stalingrad is probably not going to be able to affect very much. If he can't see the Venezia, he can't shoot much else.
yeah.
Marceau is spotted.
This,
Daring is spotted.
so Opyoko's push is definitely we've made a mistake and now we need to recover from it, because
Yeah.
our Kremlin is going to die and our Ohio are going to die, and we're going to get nothing for both of those. And their idea is to get something for that, but the Daring taking huge damage to kill the Marceau. Is he within radar range of the Stalingrad?
It's
Yes.
shockingly close. It's shockingly
There's the
close.
Stalingrad radar, and that Daring of now it's a Hungarian name of Gergely. I can't say that, but
Don't say gurgly. It's like saying Dairuche.
uh, Daring is losing far too much health for that. He's radar by the Stalingrad. The Venezia probably gets another shot in, and it's a 600 health Daring. And the Stalingrad gets another shot in. All hits the island. The
Daring
Venezia
is
is out.
unspotted, but the shells are in the air. Oh,
Ooh,
wow.
yeah, that's I don't know how I feel about it. They're in a strong position.
They're in
Don't
a
get me
strong.
wrong.
So Ohio is going to go down here. Stalingrad is pushing a Des Moines.
Does the Ohio trade for the Ragnar? Yes.
Wow.
That is
This.
huge. Stalingrad gets the ram? That's a ram attempt. This is 100% a ram attempt from Tutod
But
onto
but then
Akachi.
but then the Ohio dies, right? So you ram and then the Ohio dies. So effectively you're back down to ship parity. What you have is a cap advantage, but ship parity. Now, how about this Colombo?
Ohio goes down to Colombo.
Oh,
The ram is
Colombo's
going to happen.
bad day.
Colombo eats the torps. I was about to comment on the Colombo being very aggressive there.
Daring has
So
618 more hit points than he needs. He's healing. Kremlin wants to see the Colombo and can't. Gearing has no health, and we do trade both ships a day.
So RIKKO are actually in a remarkably good position here, because that Colombo has to do something, and his something involves pushing into a
A
Kremlin.
Kremlin? Yeah. Now the Kremlin is
Uh,
broadside to a Stalingrad, but he has an island cover for the short term. This is the match
Colombo
we
is
were hoping
stopping.
for.
Yeah, this is everything we need. That Stalingrad in Ohio. I now understand the ram. What can that Stalingrad in Ohio do? Gearing's going to go over, take A as a big like, hello, thank you for the points here. We're going to get a little bit of points from ACAP. I'm going to leave. You can retake ACAP, but what does that make a difference?
Look
Because
at
the
how
rest of our
aggressive.
team is at C.
Look at how aggressive Breda is in the Venezia. He's just straight out there in front of Stalingrad Venezia.
Yeah. This Colombo needs to ram. It needs to ram. It won't survive a drive-by, I wouldn't say.
The thing is that a ram doesn't help them. It just
No.
doesn't hurt them.
Yeah.
He's going to be hard pressed. He's hard pressed.
Daring needs to make the shot. It doesn't. There we go. And that's it.
Oh,
I think this is
this is a
currently in RIKKO's
turnaround.
hands. Yeah. And then, so you're going to see this. If the Gearing does this correctly, will take ACAP, forcing V888 to go into ACAP and retake it.
Yeah,
So they can't
that splits the
reposition.
Stalingrad and the Ohio. Either you split those ships, or you can't take the caps that you need to finish the game.
Yeah, and with the entirety of RIKKO being on C, apart from that Gearing, the Stalingrad and Ohio can't really have a significant match effect. Now, Breda is running now. Breda said, I've done my job. I'm out of here. Goodbye.
That was an
Uh,
incredibly aggressive play from Breda. And you
so,
gained a lot of space with a Stalingrad that far behind the Venezia of Breda. Stalingrad didn't have to threaten his own health pool, which had already been savaged earlier. He is taking shots now, though.
yeah. And I like it's basically being forced to eat our words a little bit when we called Rikko's move an overcommitment. I still feel like there was some overcommitment there. They lost to Venezia for no real trade on A, but that was, it was very good shots in from the Stalingrad and then the Ohio that did that. So maybe, their plan was that they would take and hold A cap,
So,
but losing to Venezia changes that.
but the critical moment has to be when the Gearing says, I have to trade for this Ragnar. I'm going to gamble my health, and he only loses 25%. That leaves a Gearing uncontested floating between B and A. He ends up capping B, capping A, and putting Torps into a Colombo, forcing a Colombo into a suicide charge. That Gearing and the fact that he had that much health, I mean, look at his current health pool. He has 1,300 hit points. He doesn't have a heal. If he had taken one more shot in the prior engagement, he might not have been able to do what he's doing right now.
Yeah. Now he's inside the radar range of the Stalingrad, but does the Stalingrad know that? It's just inside. Does the Stalingrad know that and can it do anything? The questions there. I don't see a way back into this for V888 in their current positions, because all Rikko need to do is keep disengaging now. They have 2 caps no matter what ticking. That Stalingrad might eat Gearing Torps. He will eat Gearing Torps if they have the range, and that would end the match, I think. That would just say, yeah, that's it, done. It's at least 3. Does it need that many?
Yeah, that's
2.
how.
Ooh.
Wow, how did that Torp go behind? That little bit
Very
of
close.
wow.
But that does render the Stalingrad ineffective entirely.
Do you suppose the Gearing shoots at the Stalingrad? If you're the Gearing, do you shoot at the Stalingrad?
No.
But
you leave it.
To. You want to, though.
Oh, you do, apparently.
Oh,
Smokes
you want
outside
to.
of radar range.
You want to.
No, he's inside radar range.
This is interesting.
That's not a trade I would make.
No, this is interesting. Yeah, so the problem here is you're firing HE. You don't guarantee a kill, not even on 600 hit points. In theory, a trade is worthwhile. He's not spotted anymore.
No, at this point, it's just reaching into the void to see if you can grab it. Stalingrad says hello.
He can't. Oh, he's looking for the reset. He missed the reset. He missed the kill. Stalingrad is outside of his range. He's reaching desperately to start a fire on the Stalingrad's bow, and he can't.
But you know what? If he lives this volley, it's no harm done.
Wow.
And there you go, no harm done. It was an attempt. It's not an attempt I would have made as a DD.
But I can see why you would want to. So Stalingrad
yes.
has taken massive hits. He has 600 hit points. All he needs is either a really lucky fire on his bow, which is easy to do, or a couple of HE into the superstructure. Stalingrad was that close to being in range long enough, and he manages to stop him back out of the range, pushing Gearing out of.
So the important thing is, while that happened, the Venezia went down for V888, and that pushed the points. And the points are really important there. Yeah. And that's a win for Rikko, which means that V888 are out of KOTS XIII.
That's crazy. 2 really highly ranked teams, a back and forth match that really came down. So it's interesting to me. The Ragnar pushes the enemy destroyers into disadvantageous positions. The 2v1 to counter the Ragnar gives Gearing a surprising amount of wiggle room, and that Gearing pulls off quite a bit of work to guarantee the win. At this point, if you're the Gearing, how much are you shaking?
A bit.
A bit. A bit.
A DD in KOTS is a very stressful role to play. You're terrified a lot of the time because all it takes is one good shot that you didn't see coming and didn't dodge to end your game and disadvantage your team. And that's why I'm quite conservative in that matter in terms of like I wouldn't have taken no shots at Stalingrad because I'd look at the points and I'd go, we're up on points. If I die and don't kill the Stalingrad, it just knocks that back. And it just prolongs the match pointlessly. But they got the Venezia kill.